We begin with breaking news. The Irish government and Apple have won their appeal against a 2016 EU decision that said Apple had to pay the Irish government €13 billion in back taxes, money that Ireland didn't even want. So Ireland took the case to Europe's second highest court. Dublin has long denied that its tax arrangements with Apple amount to illegal state aid. The European Commission is expected to appeal the ruling to the European Court of Justice.
Early this year, then Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar and Apple Chief Executive Tim Cook had an anniversary to celebrate, 40 years since Apple started manufacturing in Ireland. Over the decades, the EU country and the US iPhone maker have both profited from the arrangement. Apple gets a massive tax break, but it provides employment. For multinational companies, the favourable situation in Ireland is practically unrivaled in Europe. At the moment, firms officially pay 12.5% corporate tax in Ireland. That's compared with the EU average of 21.3%. Officially, companies in Germany have to cough up at least 30%. That alone has attracted many companies to Ireland. And in fact, Apple paid far less tax at times. For example, as little as 0.005% in 2014, when the tech giant paid just €50 tax on every €1 million in profit. That was the last straw for EU Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager. In 2016, the European Commission ordered Apple to pay Ireland €13 billion in back taxes. But Dublin and Apple both appealed the ruling.
Well, I'm now joined by Arthur Sullivan from DW Business, who's looked a little bit closer to the story. Arthur, it looks like a major vindication for countries with low tax policies like Ireland. So where does this leave the European Commission in their fight against tax avoidance?
Well, it's definitely a blow, Gerhard. Symbolically, it's a big blow. But it is important to draw a distinction between this specific case and the wider fight against tax avoidance. So this case looked at the issue of illegal state aid. Did Apple's specific arrangements in Ireland amount to illegal state aid? The courts today said it didn't, that the Commission did not prove that it did on various levels, and the verdict is quite clear in that regard. However, the wider issue is that countries like Ireland and the Netherlands and so on and so forth, that the Commission increasingly has been looking, the Competition Commissioner, Margrethe Vestager, has been increasingly looking to tackle this issue. And we're seeing more and more reports that the Commission are increasingly willing to use tools they've never used before, such as bringing in voting on changing the corporate tax structures in the EU, not by totally all 27 members agreeing, but by a qualified majority. Now, if that comes in, that would mean that the fight is still very much on.
But how does this ruling, how will this go down across capitals in the EU?
Well, it depends on what capitals you're talking about. In places like Dublin, The Hague, I suspect that it'll be going down very well. Places like Paris and Berlin, much less so. And the big backdrop of all this, of course, is that this week European leaders are meeting to discuss the Pandemic Recovery Fund. So they're asking the leaders of countries and governments to give unprecedented sums of money that will be given as grants that they've never done before, while at the same time they're seeing a court ruling today that grants companies like Apple a fortune, and the figures that we saw, like where they paid 0.0005% tax. So obviously that is a very, very difficult backdrop to argue. On one level, you're telling the leaders of certain countries, we need your money, while Apple is merrily taking its money to who knows where. So obviously it's a very, very difficult context. So certainly there will be a challenging reaction, and I've no doubt it'll come up at the talks that are happening this week.
So is this the end of the affair?
No, certainly not. The European Commission, although it hasn't confirmed this yet, but it would be a shock if they weren't going to appeal this to the highest court, the European Court of Justice. And if that happens, we'll be waiting for another 2 years. We could be back here in 2 years' time talking about this, Gerhard. And the overall fight against tax avoidance in Europe and in the world as a whole, one that the OECD is involved in, that's not going anywhere. The waters are rising on this issue. It's a blow to the Commission in their fight, a significant blow, but this is not over.
Arthur Sullivan, thank you very much.